The story begins 100 years in the past. The heavens were invaded by the demon king and his army, but the guardian of the gods stood against them, crushing the army by himself. However, there was a traitor among the gods, and the guardian was killed, causing his soul to be split into 72 fragments and spread across the human realm. With the guardian defeated, the demon army flooded the heavens, and the gods tried their best to fight. The gods are overwhelmed, but as a last resort, they used their remaining energy to seal the demons away. But without the gods looking over the world, chaos started to spread, and the only way to restore order is by collecting the 72 pieces of the guardian's soul and using his energy to free the gods. In the present, the world is in chaos, and we see two brothers, Yoon and Shin, as they take shelter in a house. But the ground shakes and the house starts to collapse, so Yoon puts his brother into a basket, and they manage to get out just in time. Meanwhile, their father Gong fights against an enormous demon, but he struggles against it, and he gets smashed into a pillar. The brothers arrive, wanting to help their father, but the demon suddenly attacks them. Their father manages to block the attack, stunning the demon, and he throws them up onto one of the pillars for safety, while he blocks the demon's attack. He transforms his weapon, turning it into a 3-section staff, and wraps it around the demon's hand. He knees the demon in the face, and proceeds to strangle it with his weapon. But the demon breaks the chains, and sends him into the air. But he kicks the 3 sections of his staff around the demon, and he activates his skill which binds the demon. While it's restrained, he manipulates the surrounding pillars to form a hand and trap the demon. But he knows this won't hold the demon for long, so he runs away with his boys. They make their way to a cave, where they find an area covered with vines. Gong uses a skill to open the heavenly gates of the palace, making the vines recede, and revealing 2 swords on pedestals. They pull the swords out simultaneously, making the pedestals disappear as a gold container emerges before them. Gong gives it to Yoon, telling him to give it to his brother when he grows up. His father hands him the other sword, telling him that the 2 swords have been passed down by the demon hunters. Yoon doesn't think he is worthy to wield them, but his father says he has been practicing since he was a boy, so he believes in him. The ground shakes, and they realize the demon must have gotten free. They reach a stone bridge in a room filled with lava, and Gong explains it was a spirit room used by past demon hunters. The demon suddenly breaks through the ceiling, and Gong gets caught, but uses an ability that makes parts of the walls crash into the demon. He manages to get free, and he uses another skill to trap the demon into a spherical prison, which then falls into the lava, covering the area in smoke. It looks like they have finally won, but a bell suddenly rings, and Gong is stabbed from behind by a mysterious woman, and the boys start crying, but as a last resort, he decides to send them away, activating his final skill. The woman tries to pursue them, piercing through the barrier and scratching Yoon's face, but the boys suddenly disappear as they are transported away. 10 years later, Yoon has grown up, and Shin dresses up as a giant lizard monster. We see a man as he is accompanied by a demon hunter into a building. The demon hunter detects the presence of a demon, claiming he can sense the 1,000-year-old gecko demon, and he tells the man to wait outside. The man runs away as the demon hunter summons his weapon. He enchants his beads, throwing them around the room, and he hits the gecko demon. He follows up with another attack, cutting the demon's head off, but the man suddenly panics, asking the gecko why he screwed it up. But Yoon appears behind him, knocking him out, and he wakes up tied to a pillar, asking the brothers who they are. Yoon threatens him, and the man admits he is actually just a fake demon hunter who has been working with the demon to scam people of their money. He partnered with a weak demon who would haunt buildings, and then he would pretend to hunt it down, and they would split the profits. Shen wonders how people are so easily tricked, and the man says it's all thanks to his handsome face that makes people trust him, saying that Yoon's face would never convince people he's a demon hunter because he looks like a bandit. This triggers Yoon, so they leave him tied up and dressed in the gecko costume. After that, Shen undergoes his coming-of-age ceremony, since he is now 14 years old. Yoon performs the ritual, causing Shen to be surrounded by light, and talismans surround him. The light disappears, and Yoon tells him he is now an official demon hunter. Shen questions if he is ready, but Yoon tells him to believe in himself, and shows him the gold container their father left to him. Shen opens it, and he finds a tiny iron rod. He wonders what it is used for, and Yoon only remembers how their father said it was his destiny. Shen treasures it since it's a gift from his father, and he wears it as a necklace. At that moment, an old man runs to them, asking them to save the town, because there's a mist that has caused people to disappear. He offers them money, but Yoon thinks it could be another scam. So he is more interested in continuing Shen's coming-of-age ceremony, ready to show him a good time. But he runs into the old man, who drops his bag, revealing a golden bell, and Yoon remembers the woman who killed his father. So they decide to check out the town, which is completely surrounded by mist. While walking around the town, Shen suddenly disappears, as Yoon sees a cat demon who talks to him. He asks about the origins of the bell, but the cat starts attacking him. Yoon dodges its attacks, and the cat demon attacks him from behind. It uses the mist to disappear and reappear, and it manages to hit him from behind. But Yoon spins around, creating a whirlwind that clears the fog around him, and the demon is knocked to the ground. She begs him not to kill her, claiming she will do anything for him, and Yoon asks her about the bell. The girl claims she just happened to find it, but she doesn't know where it came from, so Yoon tells her to just leave the town. She thanks him for his mercy, but she suddenly lunges at him. However, Yoon is prepared, using his backslash technique, and he easily defeats her. But as she disappears, she tells Yoon that her brother will get revenge for her by killing Shen. Meanwhile, Shen is attacked by another cat demon, who looks down on him for being a kid. But Shen claims he is no longer a kid, as he prepares to fight. Yoon watches from a distance, and calls it a final trial. The cat launches his attacks at Shen, who skillfully evades the attacks as he closes in on the demon. The demon grabs onto his stick, but Shen manages to overpower him, and even land a hit on him, but this makes the demon angry, so he starts fighting seriously, using his speed to attack Shen before he can even react. He breaks Shen's weapon, and Yoon thinks about helping him, but his necklace starts to glow, and he grabs onto it, and it transforms into a weapon. Shen throws it at the demon, blowing him away, and releasing a powerful energy wave that can be felt from miles away. The energy even reaches the demon woman, and she realizes that he has finally awakened. The weapon pierces through the demon's chest, but he is still alive, surprised to see the golden staff in his chest. He notices Shen is no longer conscious, so he tries to pull out the staff, but Yoon arrives, asking him about the bell as he threatens to kill him. The bell rings, and the demon becomes hypnotized, so he reveals that a woman named Samir gave it to them, knowing the brothers would appear if it rang. Yoon asks about Samir, but the demon says it's none of his business, as he starts repeating his mission to kill the demon slayers and snatch the soul fragment. The bell starts spinning wildly, and it enters the demon's mouth, causing him to explode. The explosion is caught by two people, who seem to be from a more advanced civilization, who head for their teleporter to check it out. Shen wakes up, and Yoon tells him he did a good job. He retrieves the golden staff, but it transforms back into its tiny form. The duo from the advanced civilization arrive, telling them the staff doesn't belong to them. They scan the artifact, confirming that it is their target, and calling it the Shenzhen staff. The duo approach the brothers, but Yoon is in no condition to fight, because he suffered some internal injuries from the explosion. Shen tries to talk to them, but the girl tells him to hand over the staff. Yoon tries to stop them, but he is easily defeated. The girl threatens to kill them, but they still refuse to hand it over, calling her a pig head because of her mask. The girl becomes angry, but her companion stops them, saying they have no ill intentions. He uses their technology to heal Yoon's injuries, surprising him, as he realizes that even his internal injuries are gone. Yoon asks them why they want the artifact, and the girl claims that the staff has always belonged to them. We learn that the staff was once used by the Guardian, the strongest warrior amongst the gods. They introduce themselves as the envoys of the fairy clan, Sorrow and Shu. Shu removes her mask, and the brothers think she is cute. Sorrow explains how the staff was lost after the Guardian was assassinated 100 years ago. He reveals that their goal is to find the 72 fragments of his soul, to break the seal on the space where the gods are trapped. He says the staff is the key to finding the soul fragment, because it has the ability to sense the traces of God. Yoon thinks it's a clue to finding the demon that killed their father, so he doesn't want to give up the staff. He asks them how they can be so sure that the artifact is really the Shenzhen staff, and Sorrow tells them about how it produced energy waves when it was awakened, which spread throughout the 6 realms. Sorrow warns them that the demons would have also felt it. He explains that the demon King Mara and his army were also sealed away with the gods, so he thinks the demons will also be making a move to free him. Yoon doesn't trust them, but Shu tells them that if they don't free the gods, the world will continue to be in chaos, and if the demons break the seal first, the world will also be doomed. Shin decides to trust them, giving them the staff, and Yoon supports his brother's decision, thinking it will keep Shen away from danger. As they leave, Shu thinks they are trying to trick her with a fake, since it has turned to iron, but when Shen takes it back, it becomes golden again. Shu is confused at what is going on, and Sorrow reveals only a pure heart can wake it up, and it has acknowledged Shen as its new honor, so they have no choice but to bring them along, and the brothers agree to go, thinking it must be fate. They claim the reward from the old man, and they look at the staff which points them in the direction of the next fragment. Sorrow summons a ship, and they all board it to begin their journey. They travel through the desert, and we see a strange woman named Ying, who passes out on the ground. The ship detects her and performs an emergency evasive maneuver, causing the ship to go flying off to the side. Shu wonders what's going on, and the ship tells them about the woman it detected. Yoon looks around, seeing a woman in the middle of the desert, and he rushes to help her. She passes out in his arms, and he sees a wound on her body, so he carries her back to the ship, but Shu stops him, telling him not to let a stranger in. Shu finds the situation strange, while Yoon thinks she's just jealous of her figure, so they begin to argue. Ying is able to enter the ship, and Sorrow asks her how she got injured. Ying says she ran into a group of bandits who tried to kill her, but she was able to get away from them. She asks them to take her back to the Dark Canyon, because she is scared of running into the bandits again. Yoon tells her that they're also going to the Dark Canyon to find fragments, so he thinks fate must have brought them together. Ying is curious about the fragments, and Shen shows her the staff, saying it detected a fragment in the Dark Canyon, but Shu becomes upset because they are telling her everything, and she tells him to put the staff away. Sorrow suggests leaving for the Dark Canyon the next day, as he leaves the room with Shu. While the brothers are sleeping, Ying uses her ring to create some web, trying to take the staff from Shen, but Shen moves his hand, preventing the web from reaching the staff. The door suddenly opens, so Ying returns to her bed, as Sorrow appears after taking a shower, but he realizes he's in the wrong room and he leaves. The next day, Yoon starts looking for Ying, and Sorrow says she seems to have already left. Shen realizes that the staff is now gone, making Shu upset, but Sorrow remains calm. In a flashback, we see Ying in a cave, where she is surrounded by a group of bandits, and her sister Mei has been caught by them. The bandit leader recognizes her as the best thief in the world, so he orders her to steal the Shenzhen staff. Ying knows about the artifact, but she thinks it's just a legend, because people have been trying to find it for 100 years, but none have succeeded. The boss tells her that it's real, claiming nobody was able to find it, because it was sleeping, but now it has awakened. He shows her a soul fragment of the Guardian, claiming it has the power to destroy the entire valley. He activates it, causing the ground to shake, as rocks start flying toward the ceiling. He claims he will be able to control the demons if he has the staff, because it is the strongest divine weapon, and he warns her not to go against him. He promises to let them go if she gets him the staff, but Mei reminds her about her oath to never steal again, knowing she will suffer if she breaks it, so she tells Ying not to go, but one of the bandits interrupts, saying Mei will suffer if she doesn't do it. Ying threatens them about harming her sister, and the boss promises nothing will happen to her if she succeeds. Back in the present, Ying goes to save her sister, while she reprimands the brothers for saving the girl and losing the staff. Sorrow drives them to a certain location, knowing they will find Ying in the area. He tells them they are headed to the spider web cave, showing them the entrance, as he informs them that the passageway inside is complicated, so it is easy to get lost. Sorrow shows them his device, pointing at the signal of the staff, and Yoon is determined to get it back. In the cave, Ying returns to the bandit leader, giving him the staff to save her sister, so he returns Mei to her, who blames herself for the situation, because she went to the valley alone. But Ying is just glad she is okay, and they start walking away. But the bandit suddenly blocks their path, as the boss tells them that they can't leave, saying he has prepared something fun for them. Ying calls him shameless, shooting web with her ring, which she wraps around the boss's legs, taking him down and retrieving the staff. The other bandit charges at her, so she tries to use the staff, scaring the man, but nothing happens, so she just uses her ring to blind him. They start running away, while the two men chase after them. But Mei suddenly trips, telling Ying to leave her behind as the bandits close in. But Ying doesn't leave her, summoning a giant web to trap them, but the boss slices through it and tries to attack them. He ends up hitting the ground, separating the sisters, and Mei tries to kick the scrawny bandit, but he easily catches her leg, while Ying dodges the boss's attack. The scrawny bandit tries to stab her from behind, but she uses her web to pin his hand against the wall. The boss takes another swing at her, but Ying jumps away, trying to hit him with her web. However, he summons rock from the ground, which hits her and knocks her down. Mei checks up on her, and Ying tells her to just run, but the other bandit manages to get free, and he traps them in a barrier. Meanwhile, Sorrow tells them it will be difficult to precisely locate the staff within the cave, so Yin suggests splitting up, and he takes Shen with him. They run through the cave, and Shen thinks they're going the wrong way, but Yin tells him about the unique sin on Ying. They see the sisters as they are trapped in a barrier. Mei begs the boss not to hurt Ying, saying she will do anything, and he tells her she will be treated well as long as she behaves. The bandit removes the barrier, and the boss slowly makes his way towards them, but Ying attacks with her ring, scratching his face. The boss becomes angry, summoning rock spikes to attack her, but Mei jumps in the way. She is happy to be able to protect her sister, but she passes out. Yun becomes angry, charging with his swords, but the boss blocks his attack. Shen tries to ambush the other bandit with a rock, but the bandit dodges and kicks him away. There is suddenly an explosion, which creates an opening in the cave, and they are joined by Shu and Sorrow. Shu fires her cannon at Ying, but Yun blocks the blast, deflecting it into the ceiling. The brothers try to stop Shu from shooting again, telling her she should be targeting the bandits. They see a barrier surrounding the bandits, and they notice how the bandits are using the power of the soul fragment, saying they have absorbed it into their bodies. Shu wants to destroy them, but Yin gets in the way, telling the sisters to run. The boss claps his hands, causing his men to appear, and he orders them to attack. The bandits charge at them, but Sorrow uses his tornado magic and blows them all away. The bandit leader tries to kill Shen, but Yin gets in his way, telling Shen to run with the sisters. Shu extends claws from her cannon, and she pushes the boss back. Sorrow uses magic to create a thunder cloud, and the scrawny bandit tries to create a barrier, but Shu punches him away, while Sorrow summons a thunderbolt and electrocutes the boss. The brothers help the two girls get away, and Ying apologizes for lying to them, but Shen tells her it's not her fault, knowing she did it for her sister. The bandit boss gets back up, attacking with his fists, while Sorrow jumps back, using a fire spell on the boss. But he creates a rock shield, reflecting the flames back onto Sorrow. Shu comes to his rescue, clashing with the boss, and they are both pushed back. The boss starts using the power of the soul fragment, which is revealed to be only a small portion of the fragment's power, but it is still a threat to them. The boss launches rocks at them, while Sorrow creates a water shield, but it is not strong enough, so they jump away as Shu fires her cannon. The boss uses a rock to make the projectile explode in midair, but it breaks into smaller projectiles, causing an explosion around the boss, and he uses a rock shell to defend himself. He starts to think he's invincible, but he doesn't realize he is standing in water, and Sorrow uses his lightning on it, electrocuting him while Shu fires her cannon, and the boss is defeated. They retrieve the soul fragment from his body, and they escape from the cave before it collapses. Meanwhile, we see the brothers with the two girls, but the scrawny bandit suddenly lunges at them. Shen tackles him away, but the bandit immediately gets up, wanting to attack Shen, but Yun interferes. The bandit dodges Yun's attack and counters with a kick, pushing him back. Tentacles appear behind the bandit, attacking Yun as they exchange blows. The bandit jumps, launching his tentacles at Yun, who barely evades the attacks. Yun is at a disadvantage, so Shen grabs onto the bandit, while Yun dashes toward him, but the bandit traps Yun inside a barrier as he kicks Shen away. Yun slashes at the barrier as the bandit uses petrification magic on him, slowly turning him into stone. Shen pounds on the barrier until his fist starts bleeding, but it does nothing, and the bandit pushes him to the side. Shen starts to cry, thinking he is useless, but at that moment, the staff starts glowing, and Shen grabs onto it, transforming it into its true form. He uses it to break the barrier, and also reverses the petrification spell. The bandit kicks him away, grabbing onto the golden staff, but it immediately transforms into a small iron stick. He tries to turn it back into the golden staff, but his arm gets sliced off as Yoon's petrification has been completely dispelled. They begin to exchange blows, but the bandit notices Yoon's speed improving, reminding him of a certain warrior. Yoon manages to land a hit on the bandit, making him fall to his knees. But the bandit knows that demon hunters can't kill humans. Yoon says he doesn't deserve to be a human, but the bandit laughs, telling Yoon how he reminds him of the twin blade hunter, thinking Yoon must be his descendant. He says that over a dozen years ago, he was ordered by his master to find the twin blade hunter, and they ended up fighting. Yoon wants to know more about the hunter, but the bandit suddenly hears the ring of a bell and ends up dying, releasing the soul fragment from his body. Back in their ship, Sorrow tries to heal Mei with his magic, but her injury is just too severe. Ying thinks she is going to die, but Sorrow suggests sacrificing her body to seal her soul, so that when the gods are freed, she can be resurrected in another body. Ying accepts his idea, and Sorrow seals her sister's soul into her ring, and she feels as though her sister is still with her. Meanwhile, Shen wonders why he has been chosen, seeing himself as incompetent because he couldn't save anyone, but Yoon reminds him of how he saved him from the bandit, saying he has potential. He tells him that Mei can still be saved if they can collect all the fragments and free the gods, so he tells him not to lose hope. They return to the ship, and the fragments are absorbed into the staff. Ying asks to join them on their quest, wanting to do what she can for her sister, and Yoon is happy to have her on the team as they continue on their journey to save the world. They arrive in an industrial city, but Shen is not feeling well, and the heat is making things worse. Yoon asks Sorrow if he can help his brother, but he tells Yoon not to worry, saying this is what happens when the staff absorbs the fragments, and that Shen should feel better after they get medicine from the sage's shop. They enter a strange store, which is full of women's clothes, but the shopkeeper approaches Shu, recognizing who she is. He mentions how the immortals have rarely visited his store after the celestial realm was sealed, so he was forced to sell other goods to survive. He activates a secret switch, transforming his store into one that caters to immortals. Shu immediately demands a sensu bean, so he quickly finds it for her, and she shoves it down Shen's throat. Yoon wonders what they gave his brother, and the shopkeeper explains that the sensu bean reduces the discomfort caused by the overload of magic power, and it even has healing properties. Yoon is impressed and wants to buy a bag of them, but the shopkeeper tells him it costs 2 billion won. Yoon doesn't have that kind of money, but Sorrow offers to pay, revealing he has trillions of won in his account. Shu wonders why the city has gotten hotter, and the shopkeeper tells her about a meteorite that fell from the sky 100 years ago. He says the climate has been hotter ever since, and it now serves as the industrial furnace of the city. Sorrow thinks it will slowly cool down, but the shopkeeper tells them that the whole city needs it, and he mentions Faizan, who is the actual ruler of the city. Shu wonders why he doesn't stand up to him, but the shopkeeper says Faizan is a high-level demon that is even a threat to fairies. Sorrow asks Shen to spin the staff around, so he gives it a go, and it allows Sorrow to see that the meteorite is responding to the staff, so he concludes that there is a soul fragment in the meteorite, but the rod falls as the necklace breaks. As Shu is about to leave with Sorrow, Yoon volunteers to go with them, but Shu warns him it won't be like anything he has faced before, but Yoon is determined to go. He leaves Shen with Ying, and he leaves to join the others. They reach their location, and Sorrow opens a map, revealing that Faizan is on the top floor of the building. While Shu and Sorrow discuss their plan to reach the top floor, Yoon breaks into the building, calling out to Faizan, and this alerts everyone to their presence. Back at the shop, Shen gets a vision of the Guardian as he stood against the demons. He used his staff against them, destroying them with ease, but the demon King Mara attacks with an energy blast, piercing his chest and scattering his soul fragments across the human realm. Shen realizes they now have 2 of those fragments, which they got from the bandits they defeated. The bandits' spirits tell him he's weak, but if he uses the power of the Guardian, his power will be unrivaled. They tempt him to sacrifice his soul to receive the power, but he refuses the offer, causing the rod to shine brightly. It transforms into a giant staff, emerging from the ground, as the voice of the Guardian tells Shen his soul and spirit will become one with him. Shen regains consciousness, but he panics as he sees Ying so close to him, so he accidentally drops the staff. Ying picks it up, and she shows it to the shopkeeper. When she returns, she has fixed his necklace, replacing it with some silver thread. Meanwhile, the trio takes out the enemies, and they reach a hall full of a woman's portrait, where Faison makes his appearance. Yoon charges at him, but he activates his fire skill, forcing Yoon to fall back. Faison is happy to see Shu and Sorrow, seeing them as worthy opponents, as he walks toward them, ready to take them on. He knows they are after the soul fragment, revealing it's in his body, as he challenges them to take it by force. Yoon lunges at him, but Faison uses a fire barrier to defend himself, and strikes back, calling forth a pillar of fire. However, Yoon stands his ground, as his swords absorb the flames. Seeing this, Faison uses a fire blast to blow him away, and Sorrow catches him as he falls. Sorrow warns Faison that the fire in his body could react with the meteorite and bring disaster to the city, so he suggests giving up his soul to prevent this, but Faison says he can just use the blood of immortals to solve the problem. Sorrow realizes he is planning to use a forbidden technique, asking him where he will move the meteorite. Faison reveals he is planning to smash the immortal palace into pieces, so Shu takes out her cannon, firing at him, as he defends using a shield. He attacks Shu with his fire whip, wrapping it around her cannon, and causing it to overheat. Sorrow tries to cool it down with some water, but it doesn't work, so she is forced to throw it away. Faison launches a fireball at Shu, but Yoon defends her, telling her to return to the shopkeeper. Shu and Sorrow retreat, as lava erupts from the industrial furnace, causing everyone to panic. Faison rains fire at Yoon, who throws his sword at his opponent and appears behind him, managing to land an attack, but it turns out to be an illusion. Faison wraps his whip around Yoon's leg, smashing him against the ground. Faison is about to finish him off, but Sorrow returns, conjuring an ice wall and allowing them to escape. Faison sees blood on the ground, and he uses it to begin his ritual, launching the meteorite off the ground. As it pierces the sky, Sorrow notes that its structure has changed over the last century, so it will likely shatter before it reaches the immortal palace, and the fragments will rain upon the city. At that moment, meteorites fall from the sky, threatening everyone, and the trio makes their way back to the shop to find a solution. Ying and Shen run for shelter, but Shen sees a girl crying, so he rushes to her, telling her to take shelter with him, but a nearby building crumbles, and they are about to get hit by the debris. But Ying uses her web to save them, and they all make it to the shelter. Shen is worried about his brother, but the shopkeeper assures him he has already taken a sensu bean, so he just needs time to recover. The shelter begins to fall apart, making everyone worried, as the shopkeeper tells them about the core of the industrial furnace, which can help control the heat, but he doesn't know where it is. Sorrow thinks it could be the key to ending the catastrophe, but the shopkeeper knows it's heavily guarded, so the group thinks Ying could steal it. Ying remembers her oath to never steal again, but the shopkeeper states that the core is a weapon of the immortals, so it wouldn't be called stealing, since they are just taking it back. Ying infiltrates the building, taking out the officers in charge of surveillance, and using the cameras to locate the secretary. She ambushes the secretary, trying to interrogate her, but she fights back, wrapping her tie around Ying's arm before launching an attack. But Ying uses her web to restrain the secretary, and she continues her interrogation, asking her about the core. Meanwhile, the shelter continues to fall apart, as Faison throws fireballs, telling the fairies to come out. Shu brings out her cannon, as she thinks about buying time until Ying returns, and Sorrow joins her in the plan. Back in the building, Ying's interrogation is successful, and she makes her way to the core, but she activates an alarm, causing a large robot to block her path. Destruction spreads throughout the city as Faison walks around. In a flashback, we see a red-haired girl trying to stop a thief, when he suddenly pulls out a knife. Faison stops the thief, knocking him down, and he checks up on the girl. They start dating, and they eventually get married, but one day, war breaks out in the higher realms, and fire rains upon the city. He sees the giant meteorite as it descends from the sky, and it ends up hitting the building where his wife is. Back in the present, Shu and Sorrow confront him, and they start fighting, as he blames the immortals for his fate. He casts a fire blast, which Sorrow tries to block with an ice barrier, but it ends up breaking. The golden staff suddenly falls in front of them, shielding them as Shen joins the fight. Shen implores Faison to stop, telling him that everyone is suffering, and the city will end up becoming a ruin like it did 100 years ago. Faison starts crying, as he remembers when he saw his wife's body buried under the rubble. It was then that he found the soul fragment, giving him the powers that he has now. He reveals he wants to get revenge on the immortals for causing the destruction 100 years ago. And Sorrow explains that during the war, the Demon King tried to destroy the Immortal Palace with a meteorite, but they created a protective field to change its trajectory, causing it to fall to the lower realm. Phison claims that the immortals don't value human lives, as he throws a fireball at Shu, but Shen protects her with his barrier. Shen tells him that if he destroys the city, he is no different from the immortals, saying he can't change the past. But this causes him to transform into a wolf monster, and he throws a punch, blowing Shen away. Meanwhile, Ying defeats the robot, and she walks to the core, trying to grab it with her web, but it doesn't work, as her web gets frozen. Phison is about to breathe fire, but he feels a certain energy, which makes him realize they are after the core. He becomes enraged, throwing a fireball which causes a massive explosion, before he makes his way back to the core. Shen protects them with his barrier, and they think about stopping Phison, but Shu is in no condition to go. Shen volunteers to go after him, so Sorrow tells him to save Ying, as he uses a teleportation spell on him. The wall around the core breaks, so Ying hides, as a strange man makes his entrance. He takes the core with his hand, which starts to freeze, but it's stopped thanks to the armor he's wearing. At that moment, Phison arrives, telling him to put it down. They start fighting, grappling with each other, but neither of them are backing down. The man explains the core is a gift for his sister, as he transforms into a massive bull, overpowering Phison. The man drives his claw through Phison's chest, defeating him, and the soul fragment comes out of his body. The man takes the fragment, putting it in a box along with the core. He sees the meteor descending upon the city, wanting to see how powerful it is. But at that moment, the box is knocked out of his hand, as Shen extends his staff. The man grabs onto it, but he realizes his life force is being absorbed, so he quickly pulls it away, charging at Shen with his axe, but Ying saves him in the nick of time. The staff keeps absorbing his life force, so he ends up cutting his arm off. He decides to retreat, using a strange stone, and he teleports away. The giant meteor is about to destroy the city, but Phison tells Shen he can stop it by breaking the core. So Shen takes his staff and strikes the core, causing the city to be covered with ice, freezing the meteor and causing it to shatter. Phison cries as he realizes he failed his wife, but his wife's soul appears before him, telling him he protected the city, hugging him as he passes away. The group continues their journey, as they make their way to a river that can heal Yun's wounds. They arrive at a seemingly abandoned desert town, where they suddenly experience a power malfunction. Sorrow goes to check it out, and the brothers think Sorrow has been behaving strangely. She reveals the town used to be a trading area with the people around, and Sorrow's army was stationed in the mine area, but she refuses to go on, not wanting to expose him. Yun thinks they should support him, so the brothers go to Sorrow, who tells them he doesn't need help, explaining that the ship's power crystal is broken, so they should look for a replacement in the nearby mine. However, he claims the situation in the mine is complicated, so he wants to go alone. Yun offers his help, but Sorrow tells him not to get in his way. We learn that Sorrow was sent on a mission to investigate the mines with his team. His teammates joke around as they make their way to the mines, and we see his teammate holding onto a certain helmet, which is the same as the one he now finds in the sand. Shen starts to get worried, because Sorrow is taking a long time to return, so he asks Shu to track his location. Yun says Sorrow will probably run away if anything bad happens, but Shu tells him to shut up, because he has no idea what Sorrow has been through. As Sorrow walks to the mine, he remembers his teammates, and in a flashback, we see his team entering the mines. They look for the human miners that have gone missing, but it's too dark, so one of them lights up the area, revealing miner helmets scattered around the area. They see a hole that leads to the underground mine, and Sorrow checks out the map, seeing vital signs underground, so they think the miners must be hiding there. His teammates sense the danger, saying they are not equipped for combat, but Sorrow reminds them about their mission, ordering them to prepare for battle. His team jumps into the hole, and they blast zombies as they see them. Sorrow thinks they are the missing miners, but there's too many of them, so they start running away. The zombies block their path, so his teammate throws grenades and tells them to take cover. The zombies are taken out, but one of them gets injured, and as they walk away, the blood on the ground forms a sigil. They reach a safe spot, where they use some cables to send a message to HQ, requesting backup. However, as they send the message, the wall behind his teammate breaks, and he suffers a fatal injury as a monster appears behind him, which they recognize as the corpse-reaping beast. Back in the present, Yoon knows about the beast, saying it's a powerful monster that eats corpses, which is a threat even to the immortals. Shu adds that it can only live in the dark demon realm, so it's not even supposed to be in the mines. Shu tracks Sorrow's location, and we see he is now gathering crystals, but he notices he is standing on a sigil. He recognizes it as a formation to open the demon realm's passage, which is activated by the blood of an immortal. This explains how the monster was able to enter the mines, and he realizes that his team was the sacrifice for the formation. The beast appears before him, so he prepares for battle, as he remembers how his team was killed by the monster. Sorrow tried to save his friend, but he tells Sorrow to complete the mission, knowing he can't be saved. However, Sorrow tried to fight the monster, crushing it with a stone pillar, but it had no effect. Sorrow collapses, but his friend steps forward, sacrificing his life to trap the monster. Sorrow gets a vision of his teammates, and he cries as he apologizes for failing to protect them, but they tell him not to give up, saying it's not time for him to join them, telling him to find the truth behind the formation. Sorrow wakes up as Shen calls out to him, and he sees the others fighting against the monster. Shu blasts it with her cannon, but it has no effect, so Sorrow tells Shen to protect everyone with his barrier, as he traps the monster in a formation. Shen wonders if he is planning to sacrifice himself, and Sorrow says he doesn't want to lose any more friends. The others continue to gang up on the monster, but it just throws them away. Sorrow approaches the monster, preparing to sacrifice his life, but Shen stops him and uses his staff to blow a hole in the ceiling. With the monster exposed to sunlight, it quickly crumbles, and everyone makes it out alive. Sorrow honors his fallen comrades, as he vows to discover the truth behind the sigil, and he joins the group as they continue their journey to gather the soul fragments. They arrive at the healing river, and Sorrow reveals that people also go to that river to pray for their wishes to come true. Ying wonders why there aren't a lot of people around the river, and Shu explains that it's because of the incident in the mine, which made the fairies withdraw from the area, thinking there are demons. This gave the area a bad reputation, so everyone is now afraid to go there, because they could die before they reach the river. Shen and Yoon bathe at the river, and Shen notices that Yoon's wounds are healing. They see a mysterious man named Mugen staring at the sky, so Yoon approaches him, trying to talk to him, but Mugen ignores him. He walks closer, as Shen gives him his equipment, asking him about the man. Yoon thinks Mugen is not an ordinary person, and Shen senses the danger, suggesting that they should go back. Yoon agrees to this, but Mugen notices his swords, and they are stopped by him. Mugen remembers the duel he had with the strongest demon hunter named Chen, who also wielded the twin swords. Chen tries to fight him with one sword, but he gets pushed back, so he decides to get serious, pulling out his second sword. Their swords clash, and they appear to be evenly matched. Mugen unleashes his ultimate skill, shattering the ground around him as Chen spins his swords around, combining his swords and transforming it into a double-bladed staff. They charge at each other with everything they have, and Chen comes out on top as Mugen gets injured, leaving a scar on his face. Mugen tells Yoon about this, but Yoon thinks that his story doesn't make sense because the swords were given to him by his father. However, Mugen is convinced that he is holding onto Chen's swords, saying he doesn't deserve to wield it because he isn't the strongest demon hunter. Yoon says he intends to become the strongest, and he thinks he must defeat Mugen to earn that title. They are about to fight, but Shen gets in the way, telling Mugen that they don't know anything about Chen, and at that moment, Shu arrives, and Shen informs her about the situation. Shu tells Mugen not to cause trouble, but he swings his sword, intentionally missing her. But the attack destroys a massive rock in the distance, surprising everyone. Mugen wants to fight Yoon, but Ying suddenly arrives, recognizing him as the strongest swordsman of the demon clan because of the sword he's wielding. Ying tells Mugen that Yoon is not in his best condition, saying they went there to heal him because he's injured, so she suggests waiting for him to recover before they fight. Mugen gives Yoon half a day to recover, as he spreads his energy around the area, telling them that they will all die if they try to escape. They return to the ship, where Ying reveals that Mugen stole the sacred sword from the demon clan. This angered the former demon king, so he tried to hunt Mugen down, but Mugen killed him in the end. Shu thinks they don't stand a chance against him, but Yun reminds them that he lost to Chen, saying the swords must be the key to defeating him. He reveals that the swords are passed down by the chosen demon hunter, and it contains a hidden power inside, which can only be activated by the chosen one. He thinks that he might be able to use the sword's power, but Shu says it's too risky, suggesting that they should retreat. However, Sorrow knows that they can't escape, saying Mugen will know about this, because he spread his energy around the area. Yun tells them that he won't retreat, saying he won't put their lives at risk, as he tells them that they will likely encounter more powerful opponents in the future. He remembers how he survived because of his father's courage, saying he never ran away from the demons, and he says he will protect Shen, but Shen claims he doesn't need to be protected. Yun bathes at the river, and Ying joins him, knowing that he always had a thing for her. She notices the scars on his body, seeing it as proof that he protected Shen, and she tells him that Shen is afraid to lose him, revealing that she still can't get over the death of her sister. She doesn't want Shen to feel the same pain she is feeling now, so she tells Yun not to die. The next day, Yun has fully recovered, and Sorrow uses his magic to improve his speed. He also wears a spider silk armor that was made by Ying, and it's exceptionally tough. Yun tells Shen that his opponent is stronger than him, so he might end up dying, but he explains that he can't back down because demon hunters need courage to defeat evil. Yun believes that they need to risk their lives even if the opponent is stronger than them, saying they can defeat any opponent if they turn fear into courage. In a flashback, we see a young Yun looking at the twin swords. He is about to touch it, but Gong stops him, telling him not to mess around. Gong reveals that only the chosen demon slayer can wield it, and even he isn't worthy to do so. Yun wants to be the chosen one, but Gong calls him arrogant, saying he still has a long way to go. Back in the present, Yun tries to attack Mugen, but he gets pushed back. Mugen counters, slashing his chest, but his armor protects him. But when Mugen thrusts at him, the armor isn't enough, and he gets injured. Sorrow notes that Mugen's sword is longer, so he has the advantage in terms of reach. As Yun struggles to dodge Mugen's attacks, he remembers when he would fight against his father, who would hit him on the head with his staff. Yun calls him a cheater because of the length of his weapon, and he starts running away as Gong chases after him. Yun suddenly throws his weapon, but Gong deflects it and knocks him down, causing him to yield. Gong tells him that his tricks aren't effective, telling him he needs to train. We see Yun training at night when he is suddenly attacked by bats. He swings his sword around, but he can't hit them, and they surround him, as he notes that the bats aren't afraid of him despite his longer reach. As a bat bites him, he realizes that a weapon's reach can be countered with good technique. The next day, we learn that the bats have been defeated. Yun has a rematch with his father, where he is able to pressure him with his technique. Gong attacks with his staff, but Yun narrowly evades it, and he manages to catch his father, winning the duel. Yun's fight against Mugen continues, and he throws sand around so that he can close the distance. They fiercely exchange blows, and Yun parries his attack, following up with his own strike. Everyone thinks Mugen is done for, but Mugen survives, saying it's time for him to get serious. A dark energy surrounds his blade, as he attacks with a skill which causes Yun's armor to crack. Ying reveals that the armor will break if the same point is attacked repeatedly, and Mugen continues to use the skill as Yun struggles to dodge the attacks, but he ends up getting hit, causing the armor to break. Yun tells Mugen that he's too strong, saying he doesn't stand a chance. In another flashback, a man tells him that there is a monster in the village, so he starts looking for his father, but Gong is nowhere to be found. He takes the swords from the house, and he rushes to the village, but along the way, he sees a bear trying to attack Shen. Yun throws snowballs at the bear, grabbing its attention as he prepares to fight it. Back in the present, Yun continues to fight, as he notes that Mugen is so much better than him, but he knows that he must fight on, because it is his duty to protect Shen. Yun gets knocked down, as Mugen tells him that he's just wasting his life, because he's too weak to protect other people. But Yun thinks that it is worth sacrificing his life to protect someone important. He recalls that when he fought the bear, he got injured, and his blood flowed through his swords, unlocking a mysterious power which surrounded the swords with a dark aura. He becomes filled with killing intent, and he charges at the bear, but Gong suddenly arrives, knocking him down. Gong tells the bear to hibernate in the cave, threatening to kill it if it causes any more trouble, and the bear crawls away. They return to the house, where Yoon apologizes for his actions, asking him why he doesn't want anyone to use the twin swords. Gong tells him that the weapon requires discipline because its power could backfire. He reveals that the user can sacrifice his blood to awaken the demon in the sword and acquire greater power. However, this is a very risky technique because the user could end up losing his life in the process. Yoon decides to try this out, slashing his arms and causing his blood to cover his swords. He becomes surrounded by a dark aura as he lets out a powerful scream. Mugen recognizes the technique as blood sacrifice, and Yoon swiftly dashes toward him, blowing him away. With this new power, Yoon manages to pressure his opponent as Sorrow notes that the power isn't human. Yoon corners Mugen, but he tells Yoon that it's not enough, and Yoon gets pushed back. Mugen tells him that he's nowhere near Chen's level, saying he lacks the intent to kill. We return to the battle between Mugen and Chen, where Mugen wonders what he's thinking about, because he doesn't seem to care about winning. Chen states that he just wants to end everything, but Mugen thinks that he speaks nonsense. He thinks that fighting is about the survival of the fittest, but Chen doesn't share his sentiment, saying it's a path that never ends. Mugen charges at him, but as they exchange blows, Chen tells him that there are beings superior to them, so his quest to become the strongest will never end. Chen uses his ultimate skill to defeat Mugen, and to this day, he still remembers the attack, knowing Chen could have ended his life that day. Mugen manages to push Yoon back, throwing him into the river, but he immediately gets back up, as Mugen wonders if Yoon will be able to make his wish come true. Yoon continues to fight back, and he is happy because Yoon is finally putting up a good fight. Shu thinks Yoon is about to turn the tables, but he suddenly approaches them, which makes them confused, as they wonder what's wrong with him. They realize he has lost control, and he starts to attack them. He starts seeing everyone as enemies, so he charges at Ying, but she manages to dodge his attacks. Sorrow blows him away with his magic, and he freezes him while he's down. Shin checks up on him, but Yoon pushes him away. Yoon says that he will kill all demons as he breaks free from the ice, trying to attack Ying again, but he gets stabbed by Mugen, causing him to fall and lose consciousness. Yoon gets a vision of the twin swords, saying he can still fight, so he asks it to give him its power as he grabs onto it. He sees the memory of Chen, who goes to a village on a mission with Gong. As they walk around the village, they realize that everyone is suffering because of the famine. Gong gives the children some food, as an old man asks Chen to save everyone. A child comes running, warning everyone that the demons have arrived to eat them, as demons appear, and one of them tries to attack Chen, but he is instantly taken out. The demons gang up on Chen, but he easily takes them all out. He makes his way to a nearby cave, where he sees demon children crying. An old demon begs him to spare the children, as he bows before him, saying the kids are innocent. Gong catches up with him, reminding him about their mission to kill the demons, but Chen says he just can't do it, because he doesn't want to slaughter the other races for the humans to survive. Gong thinks they need to eliminate the demons to make the world a better place, but Chen disagrees, saying endless killing can never change the world. He tells Gong that he's going to the west, thinking he will find a way to end everything, as he promises to return one day. Chen reaches a city, which is littered with demon corpses. He inspects one of the bodies, and he learns that the attacker used a deadly sword technique. He investigates a building, where he encounters Mugen, who has just finished killing the demons. Mugen can feel the souls of all the demons that Chen has killed, thinking he must be the strongest human alive, so he challenges him to a fight. After some time, we see Gong leading a group of humans during winter, and they take shelter in a cave. As Gong stares at the horizon, he sees a man approaching, and he realizes that it's Chen, and we see him holding onto a baby. They go back to his house, and Gong offers to take care of the child. Chen seems to have learned something during his quest, saying there's going to be chaos, and he gives Gong his swords, telling him that he doesn't have much time left, so they need to leave the future to the children. Yoon regains consciousness as he lies on the healing river. Mugen removes his sword, and he starts walking away, saying Chen spared him in the past, so he's just returning the favor, but he tells Yoon that he won't show mercy next time, saying he owes him a real battle. Mugen leaves, and Yoon's injuries are healed, and Shen is glad he is okay. Yoon tells Shen about his dream, saying it must have been a memory fragment left in the twin swords. Shen wonders if his staff also has something to do with Chen, but Yoon says they will need to find the soul fragments to figure it out. They return to the ship, but they don't know what to do next, because they need to gather the soul fragments, but also learn about the secrets behind the twin swords. Sorrow tells them about Shaolin, the most well-informed place in the world, and he mentions it's the only city where immortals reside in this realm. Its civilization is incredibly advanced, and the brothers are excited to see it, so they make their way to the city. At Shaolin City, we meet the young master Chen Yu, as a Persian princess is presented to him as a bride candidate. His butler Fu informs him that she is good at dancing, and she demonstrates this on the spot, but Chen Yu isn't impressed, so Fu tells her to leave. Fu wonders why he doesn't like any of the princesses presented to him, since he has already rejected 999 candidates, but he is confident that Chen Yu will like the last one, as he calls out to an evil enchantress. A charming woman appears, and she manages to grab Chen Yu's attention, but when she removes her mask, revealing a hideous face, he is instantly turned off, and he runs away in horror. While outside, Chen Yu recovers from the traumatic experience, and he thinks Fu has terrible taste in women. He reveals he is already in love, and it turns out he likes Shu. We learn that she made a promise to marry him when she returns, and Fu tells him that he will prepare a wedding for them as soon as she arrives. Meanwhile, Shu is acting weird, and Sorrow wonders if it's because she doesn't want to go to Shaolin City. Shu tells him that the governor of the city may not have the answer they're looking for, but Sorrow thinks that the emperor might be able to help them. At that moment, Shen tells them that the staff is responding to a soul fragment, and it's pointing toward the city. They arrive at the entrance of the city, and they are surprised by how beautiful it is. The guard stops them as a drone scans each of them, and the drone allows them to enter. There is suddenly an announcement that young Master Chen Yu will have a grand wedding in 3 days, inviting everyone to attend the ceremony. Shu is surprised that Chen Yu is about to get married, and she seems to be upset. As they walk around the city, a fruit vendor tells them that her goods are free to celebrate the young master's wedding. Shu pesters her about the details of the wedding, wanting to know everything about it, while Ying wonders why she cares so much about it. At that moment, a group of soldiers arrive, welcoming them to the city as distinguished guests, and telling them that the young master is waiting for them at the palace. They are surprised by this treatment, and they enter the palace, where they have an amazing meal, as Chen Yu welcomes them to the city. Ying congratulates Chen Yu on his engagement, saying it was a surprise, so they weren't able to prepare a gift for him. However, Chen Yu states that they already have the biggest gift for him, and they realize that Shu is actually the bride. We learn that Fu has already made preparations for the wedding, when they confirm that Shu returned to the city. Chen Yu reveals that he has recorded her information in the security system, so the wedding festival was automatically triggered when she returned, reminding her about the promise she made to him. In a flashback, we see a young Shu protecting Chen Yu from a group of bullies. The bullies look down on Chen Yu because he's from the lower realm, so they threaten to beat him up, but Shu defeats all of them. Chen Yu thanks Shu for saving him, saying she's amazing, and he wants her to go to Shaolin City when she grows up, because he wants her to be his bride. Shu wonders what bride is, and Chen Yu tells her that the bride gets to spend all of his pocket money, so she promises to be his bride. Back in the present, Chen Yu reveals that he has been waiting for her to return, and he is happy that they can now hold the wedding. However, Shu tells him that she didn't know what a bride was because she was too young at the time. She reveals that she asked the bullies to target him, threatening to beat them up if they didn't comply, because she wanted him to owe her and pay for her food. But Chen Yu says he doesn't care, saying those details don't matter, because she already made a promise to him, and she returned to the city. Yun tells him that Shu returned for the wedding, and this makes her upset, as Shen notices that she doesn't want to get married, but Yun thinks that they could use the wedding to meet the emperor, so they all decide to play along. Sorrow gives a signal to Shu, reminding her about their mission to find the soul fragments. She knows that she needs to deal with Chen Yu to complete the mission, so she decides to play her part until the day of the wedding. Shu goes to her room, as the others gather outside, discussing what they should do next. They are worried about Shu, and Ying wonders if she will stay in the city to get married, but everyone thinks it's impossible. The staff responds to a soul fragment, and Sorrow tracks its location, giving them a lead to follow. That evening, we see Shu in her room, thinking about the promise that she made. She doesn't want to proceed with the wedding, so she plans to run away after they complete their mission. But we learn Chen Yu is actually the holder of the soul fragment, and he swears he will never allow Shu to leave again. We see Yun and Ying drinking together when a woman catches their attention. She bumps into a man, and she realizes that she lost her necklace, so she starts asking for help. Yun tries to stop the thief, trying to act cool, but the thief runs past him and manages to escape. The woman arrives with the guards, telling them that Yun is the thief because he's wearing her necklace. The guards arrest him, and Yun tries to explain that he has been framed, but they don't believe him. Ying tells them that he is a guest of Chen Yu, so they check their records, but the guards reveal that Yun and Ying are listed as illegal immigrants, so they start running away. Meanwhile, Shen and Sorrow are searching for the soul fragment, but they can't find it. The staff points to the city gate, and Shen thinks that the fragment isn't in the city, so they go outside, but as they reach a forest, the staff stops responding. They decide to head back, but as they arrive at the entrance, they hear an announcement saying the gates will be closed until the wedding ceremony, and no one will be allowed to enter the city. Shen rushes to the gate, but a barrier repels him, as Sorrow wonders why the city has been locked down. They meet an old man, who reveals that he collected herbs for his sick daughter, wondering how he can enter the city. Shen speaks to the guards, telling them about the old man, but they tell him that they are just following orders from Chen Yu, and they can't allow anyone to enter. Sorrow wonders if this has happened before, but the man tells him that this is the first time. Shen tries to use a grappling hook, but the barrier prevents it from touching the wall, so Sorrow uses his magic to help him reach the top, but his magic is suddenly dispelled. He notes that the barrier is too strong, and Shen wonders how they can enter the city. The man tells them that there is another way, revealing that there is a secret tunnel that leads to the city. He leads them to an opening, allowing them to enter the tunnel. As they explore it, Shen hits a barrier, pushing him back, and Sorrow recognizes it as the work of immortals. He realizes that he can pass through the barrier, thinking the tunnel was built for immortals. He searches for a switch, and he injures his hand, activating a mechanism with his blood, which removes the barrier, allowing his companions to enter. They reach the end of the tunnel, and they climb to the top, but they realize that they have just interrupted a performance. Sorrow uses his magic, allowing Shen to perform acrobatic moves, and the crowd is convinced that this is part of the performance. But a woman reports them to a guard, so they start running away, as the guard chases after them. They hide in a crowd, allowing them to lose the guard, but they realize that they're in the news, and the people stare at them, so they dash away. Shen wonders why the old man disappeared, and Sorrow thinks that they fell for his trap, saying everything appears to be arranged. We see the servants preparing Shu for the wedding, and Fu tells her that Chen Yu is waiting for her. She meets him in a studio, where they have their pictures taken. He is about to kiss her, but she stops him, wondering why he wants to marry her, because he already knows that she manipulated the bullies, but he reveals the true reason why he was bullied. In a flashback, we learn that Shu was popular in the academy, and Xin Yu wanted to grab her attention. So he asks the bullies to help him, saying he will give them food if they bully him. They decide to help him out, and Shu interferes, beating them up, so he thanks her for saving him, saying he will buy food for her. Back in the present, Chen Yu reveals that he did all of this so that he can show off his wealth and ask her to marry him. He reveals that he can't leave the city because of his duties, but he is happy that she arrived, telling her to rule the city with him. But she tells him that she didn't go to the city to marry him, saying she just went to the city to find the soul fragment. He is devastated to hear this, thinking he deserves to be rejected, but he suddenly hugs her, and the photographer takes their picture, saying he was able to get a good shot. The picture is displayed in public, and Shen sees this, so he wonders what's happening. Sorrow thinks about everything that happened, and he concludes that Shu is in danger. Shu becomes upset, because Chen Yu is pushing her to marry him, but she suddenly becomes submissive, as he uses the soul fragment, saying he doesn't want her to take any more risks. We see an announcement about the wedding, revealing that invitations were sent to sect representatives. Ying wonders how they can enter the palace, and Yun thinks about charging head-on, but she tells him that she has another plan. We see two men with invitations to the wedding, and Ying approaches them, asking them if she can sit with them. They are stunned by her beauty, and they allow her to join them. She tells them that she was just passing by the city, but she is now trapped because the city has been locked down. They offer her accommodation, but they start fighting over her. While they are distracted, Ying uses her web to take the invitations, and she sends them to Yun. Ying continues to distract them, and they continue to fight over her. But they eventually realize that their invitations have been stolen, and she is nowhere to be found. Yun and Ying discuss how they can enter the palace, thinking Yun's swords are going to be a problem. But he decides that he will pretend to be a weapon merchant, who will present the twin swords to Chen Yu as an offering, and Ying decides to pose as his wife. Shen and Sorrow have been captured, but Sorrow tells them that he is Shu's personal nurse, and that she needs to undergo magic treatment because she is suffering from a disease, saying the wedding will be ruined if she gets sick. The guards check the camera footage, and they learn that Sorrow was with Shu when she entered the city, so they decide to inform Chen Yu. We see everyone preparing for the wedding, and Chen Yu is looking forward to the event, but a guard approaches him, informing him about Sorrow. We return to the cell, where Sorrow reveals that he was lying about Shu's condition. Shen is still holding onto the staff, and Sorrow thinks that they are about to find the soul fragment. Chen Yu enters the cell, wondering why they returned to the city, and he tells them that they'll never see Shu again, because she's about to become his wife. Shen and Sorrow don't believe him, because they know that she will never abandon the mission. But he shows them the soul fragment, and Shen wields the staff, using it to attack him, but he counters, knocking Shen down. He uses the fragment on Sorrow, putting him under his control, and he restrains Shen, using his powers to brainwash him. He tries to take Shen's soul, but he hears the Guardian's voice, and Shen grabs onto him as he realizes that his powers are being absorbed. The Guardian reveals that Shen's body belongs to him, so he won't let Chen Yu take it away. Chen Yu tries to understand what just happened, noting that he almost lost his powers, so he decides to let Sorrow take care of Shen as he leaves the cell, telling the guards to stay away from it. Sorrow attacks Shen, removing his restraints and launching fireballs, but Shen dodges all of it, and he charges at Sorrow, knocking him down. Shen wonders what he should do, thinking he can't defeat Chen Yu on his own because he's too weak. But the Guardian calls out to him and takes him to a place which is revealed to be the cage of his powers. The Guardian reveals that the staff is just a lock, and he needs to unlock his own powers, saying he needs to remember who he is. He recalls that he is a demon hunter, and he suddenly starts falling, but he grabs onto his staff, which starts shining brightly. He returns to the cell, realizing that he's holding onto his staff, so he wonders if it was all an illusion. He screams for help, saying Sorrow has been cursed, and a guard hears him, opening the cell to investigate, but Shen knocks him out. Shen tries to escape the dungeon, but he realizes that he's lost, and a man tells him that he needs a guide. The man offers to show him the way if he opens the door to his cell, revealing that he is the Emperor. He explains that his son Chen Yu locked him up, telling the people that the Emperor is living in seclusion so that he can rule the city. He recognizes Shen's staff, convincing Shen that he is telling the truth because the Emperor is known for his knowledge. Shen unlocks the door, and as he removes the Emperor's restraints, he tells him that he wanted to meet him. Shen tells him about the situation, explaining that his group is looking for the soul fragments, but Chen Yu is trying to get rid of them, so the Emperor agrees to help them, saying he will bring Chen Yu to justice. They try to sneak into the palace, but they are caught by the guards, and they are about to be arrested. But smoke covers the area, as Yun and Ying appear, knocking down the guards. Shen introduces them to the Emperor, telling them that he was locked up in the dungeon, and explaining that Sorrow is still in his cell, because he was brainwashed by Chen Yu. Ying thinks that Shu has also been brainwashed, and the Emperor tells them about the soul fragment, saying it has the power to control minds. Yun tests the Emperor, asking him if he knows about the twin swords, so he tells Yun that it was used by Chen, but it looks different from the original one. Yun is convinced that he really is the Emperor, telling him that they need to wear a disguise for the mission, so Yun leaves to get something for Shen and the Emperor. He steals the clothes of the guests and gives it to them, so everyone is now ready for the mission. The guests gather for the wedding, and as Fu delivers a speech, they notice that Sorrow is also in the event. The Emperor says that Chen Yu used magic to control the army, so they need to be careful. He tells Yun to challenge Chen Yu to a duel, knowing the city's tradition will compel him to accept it, and the Emperor promises to reveal his identity at the right moment. Chen Yu and Shu appear before the guests, and they proceed with the marriage, but Yun interrupts them, saying he wants to fight Chen Yu, and everyone looks forward to seeing their battle. Fu explains that there is an objection at the wedding, so according to tradition, Chen Yu needs to fight Yun. They enter the arena, where Fu introduces Yun to everyone, saying he has spent time traveling with Shu, so he must be in love with her. But Fu thinks that Chen Yu's love will prevail, and they prepare to fight, as the crowd wonders how Yun can even win, because he's only human, and he's fighting against an immortal. Yun charges in, and their battle begins, while Ying makes her way to Sorrow, trying to grab his attention, but he isn't responding, because he's still under the effect of the soul fragment. She tries to wake him up, but Chen Yu sees her, so he controls Sorrow, causing him to attack her, but she kicks him away. Yun and Chen Yu continue to exchange blows, as Chen Yu wonders how a mortal can be so powerful. He activates the power of his spear, covering it with ice energy, and he attacks Yun, managing to land a hit. Meanwhile, Shen makes his way to Shu, trying to wake her up, but the Emperor knows that it won't work, because she's still under Chen Yu's spell. Yun's injury starts to freeze, as the Emperor explains that the Immortal's weapons contain magic, and Chen Yu's spear has the power to freeze a person's blood. Shen thinks that it's time for the Emperor to reveal his identity, but he says that it's not yet time, telling Shen to trust his brother. Chen Yu thinks that Yun's twin swords are no match for his spear, but Yun reveals that he has fought against opponents stronger than him. The fight continues, as Chen Yu explains that it's better for Shu to stay in the city, because they won't succeed in their mission to collect the soul fragments. He kicks Yun away, telling him that it's impossible for a human to defeat an immortal, but Yun explains that humans can break their limits, and he unleashes his true power. He lunges at Chen Yu, and they continue to exchange blows, as Yun manages to land a hit. Chen Yu decides to fight seriously, saying Yun will die if he can't keep up. They fight with everything they have, destroying their surroundings, and they clash in midair, releasing a shockwave which affects everyone in the area. The Emperor thinks it's time to reveal his identity, so Shen tells everyone not to trust Chen Yu, because he locked the Emperor in the dungeon, so that he can become the ruler of the city. The Emperor reveals himself, and Chen Yu is surprised to see him. He exposes Chen Yu, saying he brainwashed Shu and Sorrow, and the Emperor orders the guards to arrest him, calling him a traitor. The guards surround him, but he explains that the Emperor is possessed by a demon, and Fu tries to explain the situation, but the Emperor tells the soldiers not to believe them, because they are working together. Seeing that he has no choice, Chen Yu uses a skill, blowing the soldiers away, and covering the area with ice. But Yun manages to withstand the attack, and Chen Yu wonders how this is even possible. Yun attacks him, but he explains that they are no longer fighting for Shu, because the city is in danger. Yun doesn't believe him, but he says that the Emperor tricked them, and they see a dark energy leaving the Emperor's body, as the mysterious woman named Suzu appears. She reveals that she was hiding in the Emperor's body, and we learn that he was struggling to contain her, so he ordered his son to seal him in the dungeon. He entrusted the city to Chen Yu, who locked him in the dungeon, ordering the servants to seal the place with magic. Chen Yu is determined to stop Suzu, but Yun is angry, because she was the one who killed his father. She remembers him, telling him that he's grown up, and she tells him that Gong was very easy to kill. He charges at her, determined to kill her, but she uses strings to manipulate Shen's body, using him to attack Yun. He tells her to let Shen go, and Chen Yu joins the fight, but she tells him he has another opponent. The old man appears, and he transforms into a demon, the one that Gong defeated. It attacks Yun and Chen Yu, blowing them away, and they realize that they have a common enemy, so they decide to fight together. They struggle against the demon, as Chen Yu notes that his weapon isn't doing damage, so he attaches the soul fragment to his spear, and he strikes the ground to summon ice, immobilizing the demon, as Yun attacks it, managing to injure it. But the demon breaks free, and it lunges at Shu, so Chen Yu protects her, impaling it with his spear, but we see that he has been mortally wounded. Yun arrives, launching a combination of attacks, and knocking down the demon. Chen Yu tells Shu that he feels guilty for forcing her to stay, thinking he deserves to die. She tells him that she always valued the promise she made to him, and she just didn't want to marry him right away, because they haven't seen each other for a long time. But he knows that he doesn't have much time left, and he shows her the soul fragment, telling her to use it to protect herself, before drawing his last breath. However, she doesn't use it, and Suzu tries to pull it in, so she becomes angry, using her cannon to blast Suzu, but we see that she has been protected by Shen's barrier. Shu is determined to avenge Chen Yu, but she suddenly collapses, as Suzu tells Yun that his friends are down, saying he doesn't stand a chance on his own. But Yun thinks that this is actually a good thing, because he won't have to worry about hurting his friends, and he uses his blood sacrifice, causing him to go berserk. The demon lunges at him, but he is able to keep up with its movements. However, he is about to lose control, and he tries to resist it, but Suzu realizes that he is vulnerable, so she tries to crush his spirit. He sees a vision, where he is taken back to the time his father was killed. He watches Suzu as she kills Gong, causing him to fall into despair. But he recalls how his father told him that he would be able to unlock the power of the twin swords and become the strongest demon hunter. Suzu is surprised to see that his body is shining brightly, and he sees Chen in his vision. We see that the power of the twin swords has been unlocked, as Chen explains that true power doesn't come from the weapon, but from the wielder who is determined to protect others. Yun uses Chen's ultimate skill, and Suzu recognizes it, knowing how powerful it is, so she orders the demon to defeat him. But he instantly dashes forward, killing the demon in one hit. He appears behind Suzu, telling her that it's over, but Shen attacks him, blowing him away. Shen continues to pursue him, unable to control his movements, and he delivers a devastating blow, knocking Yun down. He is about to finish him off, but Yun restrains him, as he begs Yun to kill him, thinking it's the only way to defeat Suzu. She uses a technique, trying to crush the brothers, but Yun tells Shen not to lose, as he throws him to safety. Suzu thinks that Yun has been crushed to death, and Shen despairs, so he thinks about making a deal with the Guardian, asking him if he can lend his powers, but he tells Shen that he needs to pay with his soul. Suzu's strings suddenly break, as Shen unleashes the power of the Guardian. The Guardian tells her that even the immortals fear him, and he is angry because she tried to manipulate his soul. She recognizes him, calling him Fushi, but he stabs her, telling her that she has no right to say his name, as he burns her body away. After some time, we see everyone at Qinyu's funeral, mourning his death, and Yun appears to be frustrated, because he wasn't able to save Qinyu. The group continues their search for the soul fragments, but they don't know where to start. The Emperor advises them to go to Shumi Mountain, where the gods reside, saying they will find what they are looking for. Sorrow says that they can't reach the mountain, but the Emperor reveals that he can take them there, as he uses his magic, opening a portal to their destination. He warns them that the journey is going to be dangerous, and he bids them farewell, as they enter the ship, ready to continue their mission.